Ladies and gentlemen, I have some absolutely massive news. Third world Democrat Congresswoman, the queen of Little Mogadishu herself, Ilhan Omar, is in full meltdown mode right now, and it's all unfolding in real time. This is the latest that we have. Just yesterday, Department of Homeland Security publicly called her out for lying about ICE agents pulling over her son. And of course, she said they detained him and a whole lot of other stuff happened. So the Department of Homeland Security says they have zero records of any such incident and accused Omar of pushing a shameless PR stunt to smear immigration enforcement. And personally, I'm a little disappointed. I actually wish this story was true. But surprise, surprise, Ilhan Omar lied right through her teeth. But that's not the big story. The story is she was confronted live on CNN. And when she was confronted, she completely dodged the question and refused to explain the story while still calling ICE liars. And it even gets worse. She is raging over President Trump's expanded travel ban on high-risk third world countries. She is calling it cruel and inhumane and claiming that Somali immigrants are all doctors, teachers, and entrepreneurs bringing value to America. Yeah, she actually said that. And a lot of people quickly pointed out that, if this were true, Somalia desperately needs these types of people in Somalia. And also, it doesn't appear to be true because a massive percentage of Somalis in the United States rely on welfare. I think it's somewhere like 80-something%, something like that. And then, of course, there's the massive elephant in the room, the Somali fraud scandals. Anywhere from $1 to $8 billion, largest scandal in Minnesota history, involving welfare, feeding our future, taxpayer-funded programs, and they're, of course, tied to communities with deep connections to Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and Keith Ellison. This is what panic looks like when the narrative collapses. America First priorities are back, and Ilhan Omar knows it, and she's absolutely panicking, but take a look.
You've said that federal immigration agents actually pulled over your son on Saturday and asked him to prove his citizenship. He is, of course, a U.S. citizen, as are you. The Department of Homeland Security says, and I'm quoting them, ICE has absolutely zero record of its officers or agents pulling over Congresswoman Omar's son, and have accused you of seeking to, quote, demonize ICE as part of a PR stunt, their words. What do you say to that?
Well, if ICE is saying that they have documentation of every single person that they have pulled over in Minneapolis, we would love to see that record because we've certainly, myself and the governor, have been asking them to share information with us on the ways in which they have interacted with Minnesotans, and they have not been able to provide a single information. So it is amazing that they're able to put out this statement saying definitely that they did not pull my son over when they haven't been able to answer anything else. And ICE has been known to lie when it comes to their enforcement.
Now, wait a second, Ilhan Omar. I would like to counteract something that you are saying. You are saying that Trump is separating families. I don't believe so. I think President Trump would be more than happy to deport entire families in order to keep them together. And I think that's what he has been doing. So Ilhan Omar saying this, it's on them. If they want to stay here and have some of their family members be sent away, that's on the individual themselves. That's not on Donald Trump. So what she is saying there is clearly untrue. It's not like we're forcing some people to stay in the United States and deporting others just to be mean and separate families. That is completely false. But I want to show you this. This is probably my favorite clip of all, where Ilhan Omar claims that Somalians are doctors, teachers, and entrepreneurs. She's highlighting maybe the small, tiny percentage of Somalis that might be these things, while completely disregarding the massive fraud and the massive burden on our welfare system and our taxpayers this community has become. Take a listen.
We are doctors, we are teachers, we are entrepreneurs, and we are elected representatives of our state. And so these vile comments and this sort of creepy obsession that that he has on me and Somali Americans really is dangerous, and it's beneath the office of the presidency.
Now, of course, this is absolutely insane for her to say this. And, if this were true, if there was somehow a massive percentage of Somali Americans who are becoming these things being high level in the economy, making a lot of money. Why isn't she advocating for them to go back to Somalia? You know, there's a certain thing called brain drain, and it tends to affect these third world countries very significantly. And Somalia actually happens to be a part of this. You know, anyone who is at a high level in society is going to leave the country because it's so chaotic. So why isn't she saying, you know, Somalis who make it in America, who become doctors, entrepreneurs, and all these great things, why don't they go back to Somalia and help the country you proclaim to love so much? Why isn't she doing that? I think that would be the right thing to do in her position. But we also have another clip, and this one is fantastic. I love it when people directly confront these congressmen and women over allegations that are surrounding them, because it really shows you what kind of people they are in real life, instead of just showing you kind of a glimpse of like some very carefully constructed talking points of them on the news, like CNN or MSDNC or some of these mainstream media outlets. Here is a clip of Ilhan Omar being confronted about why she lied about ICE detaining her son. Take a listen.
Hello, Congresswoman Omar. DHS says they have no record of ICE pulling over your son. Why did you lie about ICE targeting your son? One more time. Why did you lie about ICE targeting your son, Congresswoman?
Any words?
Do you think it's responsible to lie about ICE targeting an individual in this time when domestic and Islamic terrorists are targeting ICE officials? Do you care to comment?
So absolutely disgusting. Of course, she has no comment because it never happened, and she was trying to score some political points with people in her district, because that's all these people do. They lie, they lie, they lie, they cheat, they defraud you, the American taxpayer, and they are absolutely 100% okay with doing that, because to them, all of this is just a game. They don't care that they're playing with people's lives. They don't care about Americans and what they want for their communities and for their country. All they see is dollar signs. All they see is something that benefits them and them being able to climb up the political ladder and try to get leverage and power. And Ilhan Omar is just another one of these individuals. And she just so happens to be one of the worst. And, you know, she is surrounded by the worst. I want you to take a look at this. Now, of course, we all know the massive fraud that is happening in Minnesota. But I think Fox News did an absolutely fantastic job of covering this very quickly and concisely, talking about how these three individuals, Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and Keith Ellison, are connected very closely to this Somali fraud ring that defrauded Minnesota of anywhere from $1 billion to $8 billion in the largest fraud scheme in Minnesota state history.
Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison. We see a web of connections between them and those directly involved in the fraud. For example, Ilhan Omar alleged enabling introducing the 2020 Meals Act, which was ultimately subject to fraud. Held a campaign victory party at the Safari restaurant. That's where one of the men who run that restaurant has associations to the convicted individuals. And then there's Tim Walz, House Oversight Investigation role in his role as governor. Or Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. His job is to enforce the law in Minnesota, but instead he's getting donations after meeting with the Feeding Our Future representatives. The Feeding Our Future, the biggest known yet part of this entire theft ring.
So when you hear all of this stuff, the dots that are being connected, it's very clear why you have this third world congresswoman coming out and directly lying to everybody over what is going on in her community, over ICE supposedly detaining her son. She wants to gain some sort of sympathy points. She wants people to look, of course, on the Trump administration and specifically ICE in a negative light, as if they're doing something illegal. She wants to trigger probably some sort of congressional hearings over this kind of stuff, because she wants to say that ICE is acting unconstitutionally, which is absolutely insane. ICE is doing exactly what we, the people, voted for Donald Trump to do with them. And I think he should go harder. I think he should do more. I think he should deport more. Go into the Somali community, deport them all, including Ilhan Omar. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.